Welcome to the Henry Ford's Innovation Nation. I'm Mo Rocca. Prepare to be astonished.
Coming up, slithering robots on the ready to rescue. Wheeling through the past with presidential passengers. The Prince of the Pixels in your pocket. And clearing the way for see-through solar power. Now on the Henry Ford's Innovation Nation.
Are you one of those people who is creeped out by snakes? How about robots? Are you a droidophobe? If you answered yes to either of those questions, we're about to change your mind. Because robot snakes, as disgusting as they may sound, are in the process of making the world a safer place. Here's Adam Yamaguchi.
This is a snake from the future, not hatched in the woods or the desert, but in the mind of engineers. Let's face it, snakes get a bum rap because they slither along the ground and because they can slip in or out of small, hidden spaces unnoticed. And that freaks people out. But it's those exact qualities a snake possess that can actually be a huge asset to humans when it comes to search and rescue efforts, dangerous inspections of old piping systems, or even delicate medical procedures like heart surgery. Of course, you can't train a snake to act on command like a dog. So what do you do instead? You build a snake robot. I traveled to one of the top robotics labs in the country, located at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to meet the robot snake charmer himself, Professor Howie Chosette.
So this lab here is called the Biorobotics Lab. The reason why it has its name is that we look at biology for inspiration to make the robots here. We have been working on snake robots for about 18 years in this group. If you look on our wall, we have a whole history of dead snake robots. Each time we iterate, we make the mechanism better and better. So this robot here, it can move around in some ways just like how a real snake can, but it can do other things that real snakes can't. So for example, it can climb up a pole. So if you want, why don't you put your leg right over here, and what you're seeing is that the mechanism
Wow.
is smart enough to hug your foot, your leg, but we can actually regulate how hard we grab on, and then once we're grabbing on just enough, we can roll up and poke around. Snake robots can introduce a whole host of applications. One that's near and dear to my heart is urban search and rescue. We want to be able to give rescue workers a tool that will allow them to reach into a collapsed rubble pile and locate victims, and do so without disturbing the surrounding areas.
Other possible uses include inspecting radioactive pipes at aging nuclear power plants, and even archaeology.
Archaeology is just like search and rescue, except everyone's been dead for 5,000 years, so there's no rush.
Professor Chosette's students have built other kinds of useful robots, like this spider robot.
This particular configuration of robot has applications in crawling over piles of rubble, because again, you have lots of points of contact with the ground and you have nice reach. You can get to places that maybe a wheeled robot can't.
Professor Chosette's snake robots have been engineered small enough to work in the medical world, where they've been officially approved for surgical use in Europe.
So what you have here is a surgical snake robot. It's for minimally invasive surgery. So what we can do is we can make a small incision, let's say in your chest, make a 25mm turn one way and a 25mm turn the other way, and you're behind the heart, where you can deliver a whole host of therapies and diagnostics.
While these snake robots are amazing creations, there's still more functionality that needs to be developed, and the cost to build one has to come way down in order for it to be practically affordable.
Right now, I'm at the happiest I've ever been with the capabilities of this robot, and I'm still not happy. There's just so much that we want to do in making these robots work.
What surprised me the most is that Professor Chosette is actually scared of snakes.
All this work in snake robots has not changed what is a biologically well-based fear of snakes. I just don't want to be around real snakes.
Coming up, driving into presidential history, focusing on the Sultan of Selfies, and the window into our solar-powered future. But first, it's time for the Mo You Know. Who invented the trusty Band-Aid? Was it A, an injury-prone housewife, B, a cotton buyer, or C, a knife maker? We'll scrape up the answer to see which one sticks after you take a short pause for the gauze. Welcome back. It's time to rip the bandage off this answer. Before the break, we asked, who invented the Band-Aid? Uh-oh, it's a trick question. The answer is actually A and B. In 1920, housewife Josephine Dixon often cut and burned herself while cooking. Her husband Earl was the cotton buyer for the Johnson & Johnson Company. Earl cut up pieces of tape and stuck a wad of cotton in the middle to dress his wife's wounds. He showed his invention to his bosses, and the Band-Aid was born. The adhesive strips have covered billions of boo-boos and owies ever since. And that's the Mo You Know.
If you're president of the United States, you can't just ride around in a regular car. Here at the Henry Ford, there's a collection that spans 80 years of presidential limousines. And some of the events that took place in these cars drastically changed the course of American history.
Viewing this regal collection of presidential limousines feels like a walk through American history itself, reflecting pageantry and tragedy, war and peace. Matt Anderson is curator of transportation at the Henry Ford, and he showed me how these presidential vehicles have a special purpose beyond the obvious.
A presidential limousine really has to play three roles in its daily life. One, it has to have the formality of a limousine for state occasions, things like that. It has to provide visibility so the president can be seen by crowds and by the press, but it also has to supply the security of an army tank.
The oldest vehicle in this collection was used by President Teddy Roosevelt. To call it a limousine might be a stretch, because this ride is of the horse-drawn variety.
Full disclosure, Teddy Roosevelt is my favorite president.
And this is his carriage right here from 1902.
Was this the first official presidential vehicle?
I think it's fair to say that the presidential limo that we understand today starts right here.
And would TR, as he was known, just hop out and shake hands and then get back in?
No doubt, he'd probably jump out, shake a few hands.
This looks like a presidential limousine.
Yes, this car was customized for Franklin Roosevelt in 1939.
Distant cousin of Teddy Roosevelt's.
Yes, and this car is really where it all starts. It's the first automobile customized for presidential use.
Nicknamed the Sunshine Special, this car was a reflection of FDR's outlook.
Roosevelt always liked to ride with the top down so he could be more visible, but also because he was famously optimistic, even during the depths of the Great Depression.
The bubble top was most associated with President Eisenhower, who used it for all of his 8 years in office.
There is indeed some sort of shield that folds up there, right?
Yes, you might think it's some kind of a bullet screen. It actually protects from bugs, of all things. So that right? Gets to the whole dignity issue. You know, you can't have a face full of flies when you're the leader of the free world.
This car may not be recognizable to you, but if you imagine it as a convertible, then President John F. Kennedy likely comes to mind. President Kennedy was killed while riding in this car through Dallas on November 22nd, 1963.
This is a 1961 Lincoln Continental. Lincoln had a whole new design that year, very clean, very elegant, very modern. And of course, Kennedy projected that image of youth and modernity, so they were a great fit.
This car will always symbolize something horrible. A national tragedy.
Absolutely right. President Kennedy's assassination was a major turning point in national history, and certainly a turning point in the design of presidential limousines. This represents the break between the bubble top, which is just an open car with no armor of any sort, and the modern sort of tank on wheels. This car was completely rebuilt after the assassination, given armor plating, given bulletproof glass, bulletproof tires.
By the 1970s, the world looked very different, and presidential vehicles started to reflect those changes in earnest. This car is most well known for being the one used by President Ronald Reagan on the day of his assassination attempt in 1981.
This limousine is totally different from many of the others we've talked about because this one was built from the ground up to be an armored car. These days, the limousines actually are destroyed shortly after they're retired from use, and that's partially to test how effective the armor is against improving weapons.
So they blow up the cars as part of a test to make future cars even safer.
Exactly. So this may very well be the last presidential limousine saved in a museum.
One that will continue to tell stories for generations to come.